folks, welcome to Legacy IAS Academy. In this video, we will be discussing a current affair topic presented to you by a faculty, Sushma KP. So, what is the topic that we will be discussing today? A tribute to Tejas, India's delay culture, and it is the real enemy of skies. What and why exactly are we discussing this topic? See, first and foremost, this entire video is built around your Tejas crash in the Dubai air show. See, first and foremost, if we have to speak about Tejas, one thing is it's a brilliant aircraft. Why it is brilliant aircraft is because it suits Indian needs. It is reasonably priced. It is largely indigenous. Okay, and also it has a very good safety record. Wait, I just told the Tejas crashed at Dubai Air Show, and I'm telling it is having safety. How? Because if you see the history, in the last 24 years of its flight, there has been only two crashes. But see, we can tell it is only two crashes. But the impact of those crashes would want us to reiterate and see as to why this is happening. See, the lives that are lost are too big to even just consider them as small mistakes, because the pain of that is too big. Okay, the sacrifice of those pilots should not go in vain. Okay, because India lost a very skilled pilot in your Dubai air show. This is not just a grief for any one section, this is a national grief, and a self introspection is needed as to why this happened. Understanding? So, who is to blame here for this stages crash at Dubai air show? That is the question. First and foremost, before we start about everything, let's speak about our IF, India's Air Force. First thing is, of all the three, your Army, Navy, Air Force, Air Force is the first responder. What do we mean by that? See, our present Prime Minister Narendra Modi is of the opinion, and his style of, let's say, dealing with terror has always been like any form of terrorism is an act of war, and that act of war has to have a repercussion. Understanding? So, this is New India's approach. Yes, in that always IF has to be on alert, okay, in case situations escalate. In this scenarios, IF's combat role is always of its officer driven. Okay, because your IF is like, unlike, see, it is not like army or your navy doesn't do that. No, it has a chain of hierarchy in army or navy. But with respect to air force, if you see, there is a small knit close family, okay, that is run by pilots. Okay, now among all three, army, navy and air force, the most technology dependent is your air force. Okay, because of electronics, sensors, radars, okay, precision, more of your missiles, right? If you have a technology gap, it hurts air force more than in anyone. See, in your army and navy, the numbers can to an extent bridge the gap in the technology, but it can't do with the air force. Understanding? So air power demands superiority in technology. Next, there is an issue with India's catch up culture. Okay, see, in the initial years, Pakistan had an upper hand, especially in 1950s, when it started receiving cutting edge technology from your US jets, in the form of your Sabre starfighters and F-16s. Okay, so at that point of time, India and your USSR tie up was also not there. What we did was we ended up buying, in 1965 and 1970 wars, which were almost discarded, like, let's say, from Britain, whatever Second World War time they had discarded, that we had to bring back, and it was more of inferior compared to your Pakistan, which was getting Sabres, starfighters and F-16s, and we had to make changes to that. Even if China was not getting, let's say, post 1971, your China supports Pakistan very much in modernizing its aviation. They are trying to come up with jointly producing China and Pakistan with respect to the JF-17 programs, which is advancing very much faster, and more than 57% of it is domestic production. Now, reaction from India's side has to be, it is always doing that forceful catch up. Okay, it has to catch up with Pakistan, it has to catch up with China. Okay, because of that, a lot of indigenous programs will suffer. understanding. And one of the main thing is, because of this catch up, we are not trying to fully indigenize, nor get, let's say, if you want to get more advanced aspects put into a helicopter, again it is called as import bahadur. Okay, so there is huge amount of issues for dealing with this. See, Tejas is a excellent flight. When we are telling excellent flight or a brilliant flight, because of its performance, understanding, and also a lot of it is domestic components, and it is coming at a competitive cost, but it was just built a tad bit too late, because it comes under your light combat aircraft, which was sanctioned in 1983. The first flight was operational in 2001, almost 18 years later. Initial operational clearance happened in 2013, final operation clearance in 2019. Finally, we are telling that in 2027, full Mark A1 quadrant will come in at 2027 earliest. This much of delay was it needed? 44 years of journey to reach the full induction of first standardized variant. Is it right? Is it right for us to do this? See, first and foremost, your Hindustan Aeronautical Limited, again, it suffers with integration and also software updation, radar missile sinking issues, and at the same point of time, the software delays. All these are some things that can be preventable. It is not such an issue that it cannot be done. The delay of 44 years should not have been there. Okay, this much delay is impacting and hurting our pilots, and their lives, that skilled pilots lives, should not be wasted on this way. So much so that see, in your social media itself there is a lot of criticism, calling us import bahadur, and asking for superior fighters labeled as anti-national. Okay, see, the enemy will not wait for India to play catch up, or until India is completely ready. This has to be more of look at ourselves as to, is this right on what we are doing for our air force? What exactly is India doing? Where is the delay or catch up thing coming? We will discuss. But before that, we have a small announcement from Legacy IAS Academy, wherein if you're someone who wants to kickstart your UPSC civil service journey, then look no further. You have found the right spot with Legacy IAS Academy, wherein we maintain our batch size at strictly 40 member per limit. We also provide one-on-one mentorship, easy access to educators, daily mains answer writing challenge, 360-degree current affair classes, CSAT classes. We conduct our sessions in both offline as well as online mode. For those of you who are working professionals or students, you can also take up our weekend courses. For those of you who want to see how the classes are, you can schedule a demo class in the offline or online. Now, what exactly do we mean that there is a huge delay or catch up that we are paying? First and foremost, see, aircraft combat, even milliseconds are very important. Okay, even 10 to 15% of inferior equipment would lead to a huge loss of lives. Understanding? Yes, the forces may be silent because the protocols are preventing them to speak, but this leads to the issues about public misconceptions about the procurement needs. See, HF-24 Marut. Okay, this is what happened once, and this is what is now, where we tell is history repeating itself. See, in 1950s, I told you, your Pakistan was getting Sabres and F-16s and all this from your USA. At that point of time, we did not have tie-up with USSR. So what Nehru did was, he thought, okay, we also have to do something about this. India cannot be like this. So they went and bought German pioneer Kirk tank, okay, to develop. Now he was the designer between your FW of 190. So he came in to India. He formed a group of young Indian engineers. In that was a young APJ Abdul Kalam, the pride of India. Wherein they designed that, they thought they will build India's first indigenous fighter, that is HF-24 Marut. The design was excellent, yes, everything was there. But there was one fatal flaw. They didn't have a suitable engine, and they could not break the sound barrier, okay, because its mark was only 0.93. and yet they built 147 aircraft design, in which 28 of them crashed, and they retired in 1985. See, what we are trying to learn from this is, yes, great designs, weak engines is nothing but wasted potentials. Indigenous ambition without a timeline is always going to lead to a risk. What we started there as your HF 24 Marut should not be another Tejas. Understanding India's delay culture, when we are telling, see, IF squadron strength is amazing. All right, that is, our pilots are very much stronger. But see, unless and until you want to produce an indigenous design without a proper funding, without proper timeline, without proper, let's say, phased manners, it is not going to happen into reality. 44 of delay is simply not acceptable. Understanding, and India loses relative advantage with respect to your Pakistan and China. Where is this delay coming? Long production cycles, missed deadlines, overconfidence in future capacities, and also we are not able to scale up the productions during wartime. Okay, this delay reduces the deterrence value. Okay, see, your when we tell air force or air power, it is not just to go fight in war, but also to create a threat of deterrence. They have that, we shouldn't go near them. So it is to act as a threat or a deterrence to not strike. But because of this slow induction, it loses its credibility, and the adversity, that is the opposite, your enemy gains more confidence and they gain more advantage. But still, if you see, what does Tejas symbolize? It is triumph of Indian engineering. Yes, it has globally been respected. It has good safety record. It has high maneuverability. If Tejas can succeed despite 40 years of hurdles, then imagine if timely funding and proper production, lack of delays, everything is cut down, means how much more can your Tejas do? Understanding? So if you see with our neighbors, China is building JF-17 in continuous blocks with help from your China. China is building fifth generation fighters, you like J-20, and India still stands at the midpoint where it's not here, it is not there, it is just trying to play the catch up. Okay, so the delayed procurement leads to operational stress and it defeats the squadron strength. Understanding, Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense should be matched with Atmanirbhar means self sufficiency. Alongside self sufficiency, there should be faster testing cycles, better private sector integration, and realistic production timelines. Okay, so first and foremost, we must know that the pilot who lost his life, now that should not go in vain. Understanding, yes, Tejas was not at fault, but the crash makes us question. We must recognize that delay in the decision making is the real enemy. Understanding, it is not Tejas, it is not HRL, it's not DRDO, it's not the pilot. India must break the catch up cycle and we must rise ahead if we have to move further. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, share it along with your friends. Thank you.